Ngayon maraming ayaw mag-take ng vaccine because of the adverse effect. Okay? So, basically, toxicology is part and parcel of public health, no? Talagang ano ang most common poisoning? Any guess? Ano kaya most common poisoning among children? Dr. Gabriana, I saw you but you are mute. Can you unmute and say something about what do you think is the most common poisoning among children?
Amoebiasis, Doc?
Food poisoning, amoebiasis. What about in other form of poisoning, chemicals or are there living things? Ano yung mga most common? Any guess?
I'm not sure anymore.
Sige, yung iba, Dr. Amago.
Melamine poisoning, Doc.
Melamine. Saan yung melamine?
Dehydration, Doc.
Dehydration. Saan yung
Plastic, Doc.
sa plastic? Oo. Actually, still the most common, ano yung iniinom ng mga bata? Napapagkamala nilang Sprite.
Red horse.
Red horse. Ha? Red horse. Ano? Yung gas, yung 'di ba, yung gas. Ang tawag diyan? Petrolyo.
Petrolyo.
Yes.
Elaine.
Petrolyo ang most common na kasi if palagi yan napupunta sa when I was growing up as a kid, I remember yung kalaro ko na naduling siya. Tapos nakainom siya ng akala niya Sprite yung petrolyo pala, 'di ba? Kasi kapkulay talagang nag-cross eye siya dahil sa pag-inom niya ng pero nabuhay naman up to now. At hindi pa yun nga lang medyo nagkaroon ng sa mata niya, pero sa palagay ko hindi naman dahil sa sa petrolyo, but most common yung petrolyo na iinom. Tas yung aside sa mga petrolyo, okay. Most common yan, kaya talagang even snake bite is most common also among the provinces. So toxicology is the study of the adverse effects of chemicals or xenobiotics on living organisms, including the nature and detection of the toxic substances. There are two injuries that are being produced, the local toxic effect and the systemic effects. Okay. So, the routes of entry either by inhalation is the introduction of toxic chemicals or biologicals into the respiratory system. Solids and liquids can also be inhaled as dust or aerosol. So karamihan ito yung mga masasangsang na mga amoy. Ano ba yung mga most common sa mga factory, di ba? Or pagka binuksan mo yung yung pinanglilinis, acid, muriatic acid, di ba? Sometimes if you inhale, it is very toxic also. Okay? Number 2 is skin or mucosal eye contact. Most common din ito, di ba? Pagka talagang yung acetone or acid, pag nahawakan mo yan, is also very toxic and corrosive. Of course, animal bites or insect, or jellyfish sting producing deeper skin damage. Sa inyong experience in the community, how do they manage a jellyfish sting? Stop share ko muna. How do they manage jellyfish sting?
Doc, iniihi
Yan, Doc.
po. Or gumadanganin
Siguro,
Iihian talaga, no? Pero very effective is the acetic acid, the vinegar. So, wag niyo nang paihiyan, ba may UTI pa yung toxic, no? Matotoxic pa, but really marami na akong cases na what you call this, yung jellyfish sting, nilulubog ko lang talaga sa suoy, sa suka, is very very good in the jellyfish poisoning. So pag magpupunta kayo sa beach, dala kayo ng isang bottle of suka, baka may makagat ng jellyfish, no? Very good acetic acid. Tapos meron pa yung natutusok-tusok kayo, ano yun? tamil, yung parang ganyan na ano,
Sayang.
Urchin.
searching. Bukod sa bukod sa vinegar, magdadala rin kayo ng chani or yung ano tawag niyang puller, no? So kailangan ma-pull or eventually maano yun with acetic acid. Pero jellyfish sting is very good for acetic acid. Another is ako when I went to Lulugayan Falls, grabe, super duper kati-kati-kati, no? It's a sandfly sa Palawan when you go nick-nick bite. We call it nick-nick bite in Palawan. I don't know what they call it here in waray-waray term. Hindi mo siya nakita pero pag kinagat ka sobrang kati-kati. Sino naka-experience na gano'n? Ang kati-kati sa legs and ano no, hilig sa mga sand. May mga times na there are lots of nick-nick bites. I-google nyo na lang. If you google nick-nick bites, I think lalabas yun. Yung ano, grabe talaga, hindi mo mapigilang kati, no? Very red, and ano, i-google nyo, nick-nick bite. So, most common yan sa mga, and it is the result of skin, no? Skin or mucosal eye contact. Okay, yung iba naman, aside from the animal bites or insect or jellyfish sting, yung mga makeup, di ba? Sa mga mata, yung mga mahilig sa mga Korean makeup na ano, hindi ako pwede sa ano, sa ang tawag doon, hindi ako marunong mag-makeup eh. Mga anak, tulungan niyo ako. Ang tawag doon yung ano, yung kulay black na nilalagay sa pilik mata, mascara. Yan. Yung iba nakakaano rin ng naapektuhan din sa mascara. Ako pwede sa mascara. Okay? Or ingestion. Ingestion of toxic substances may produce varying severity of damage to the GI tract, whether the poisoning occurred by a contamination of food, yung sinabi kanina na amoebiasis, food poisoning, or water or intake of pharmaceutical products. Ano ang mga most common naman na mga gamot na iniinom na poisoning? Dati. Aspilet, yung baby aspilet, ng baby aspirin, ako, nagiging most common yun dahil lasang candy. Di ba? Iba-ibang color. Nakakita na ba kayo ng baby aspirin? Iba-ibang color. Nako, yung isang pamangkin ko uminom ng isang ano na aspirin kasi lasang ano eh, lasang candy. No? Marami ng chewable. Or even in some supplements, you can have poisoning. What else? Paracetamol, you can also have ano, o yung sa mga di makayanang modules dyan, anong mga iniinom? I have a friend, no, yung anak niya na nagkakaproblema sa ano, nagkakaroon ng depression pala, nagsurface yung mga past trauma, no? She was a product of molestation ng kanyang cousin. Ang ginawa niya, tapos bumabalik-balik sa kanyang alaala, ang ginawa niya, ininom niya lahat ng kanyang antidepressant in one sitting. So, yun. Tulog ng ano, and it's very difficult. So, most common yun na mga ano, then yung kinuwento ko sa inyo before, ano ba yun? Yung liquid sosa, no? Yung nilagay daw sa Gatorade na bote, kaya nainom as, ano. So, it's still poisoning, okay? Another is parenteral route, no, of toxic chemical exposure that results almost always in systemic effects which occur rapidly. Very rapid ang ano ng parenteral route. Okay? Lalo na pag magkamali, especially sa mga nurses, no, kailangan talaga pag nagkaroon ng anaphylactic reaction sa mga what they call this, penicillin, okay? So, aside from the exposure route, the amount of the compound absorbed by the body also depends on the duration and exposure and the concentration. So, bali, dose and amount, no? So, the dose and the duration of exposure, they are directly related. The greater the exposure, the higher the concentration, no? The higher the intoxication or the local or systemic effect. So the type, whether it's local or systemic, and severity of poisoning from toxic substances are affected by the route of entry, by the dose of the substance, and duration of exposure. So children are more vulnerable to the toxic effects of hazardous substances, especially yung sa mga toys. Okay. So, dose-response relationship is a key concept in pharmacology and toxicology. The rule is as the dose increases, the severity of the toxic effect increases. So, there is a direct relationship between the dose and the uh, toxic effect, no, response. So the higher the dose, the toxic it is. However, the response of toxic substances may vary among individuals because of physiological factors, age, weight, or sex, or genetic differences. Yung iba yung toxigenomics na tinatawag, or pathologic state. Of course, if you have a pre-existing illness, mas mabilis kang effect ng toxic na yon, no? So in toxicology, there is what we call the globally harmonized systems. This GHS is an acronym of the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals currently used in workplaces. So kailangan meron ka nun, yung mga bungo-bungo, di ba? May mga ganyan. Okay? And there are 5 components na kailangan nakalagay doon. One is defining hazards. 2 is creating classification processes. Makikita natin with the table. Overview man lang ito, no? Number 3 is communicating hazard information on labels and safety data sheets. Okay. So, the target populations are the employers, workers, those involved in transport, consumers, emergency responders, and others who provide services. The GHS addresses how label and SDS should be used to convey information about these hazards and how to protect people from these effects. So it also provides a basis for safety training and health promotion. So the term hazard classification is used to indicate that only the intrinsic hazardous properties of substances and mixtures are considered. So for example, this, okay? So class with category, sorry. Okay. So LD50 is the lethal dose, no? There are 5 categories, category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And then the lethal dose kailangan should be less than 50 milligram per kilogram, more than 5 but less than 50, 300 but less than 2,000, less than 5,000. Okay? Signal word is danger. Okay? Category 2 is also danger. Category 3, also danger. No? Category 4, warning. Pagdating sa category 5, it has no symbol but there is also warning. Okay? So the hazard statement, pag titingnan niyo yung mga labeling, no? Fatal if swallowed, fatal if swallowed, toxic if swallowed, harmful if swallowed, may be harmful if swallowed. Therefore, ibig sabihin, the higher the category, the lesser it is harmful. Okay, so pinaka-harmful is category 1. It's very fatal. Okay. So, the standardized label elements included in the GSS are symbol. Yung kanina, yung may bungo, walang bungo, tapos yung parang baliktad na apostrophe. So, it convey health, physical, and environmental hazard information. The signal words are danger or warning are used to emphasize hazard and indicate the relative level of severity of the hazard. So, category 1, 2, 3 are danger, the 4 and 5 warning, warning. Okay? Hazard statements are standard phrases assigned to a hazard class and category that describe the nature of the hazard. So, the GSH label elements, there are precautionary statement, measures to minimize or prevent adverse event. If you go sa mga vet, sa mga, ano ba ito, yung bibilihan, yung mga fertilizer, may mga ganyan yan, di ba? Product identifier, the name or number used for a hazardous product on a label or in the SDS. mag-download kayo, you can Google it, yung mga GSH label, no? And you can find some of that GSH level, mostly sa mga fertilizer or sa mga insecticide, pesticide, no? Supplier identification, the name, address, and telephone should be provided on the label, and supplemental information or non-harmonized information. Okay? So, sa GSH pictogram, makikita natin, pag ito yung mga, ano niya, some of them are, pag ganito yung nakita nyo, parang nagaganyan-ganyan, no? Oxidizer, different from the flammable. 'Di ba? Nakikita nyo yung flammable na parang may fire, tapos yung isa naman ay explosive, self-reactives, or organic peroxides. And then, acute toxic o severe na sa mga ano yan, sa mga poison talaga. Pag nakita niyo yung mga ganyan, it burns skin, damages eyes, corrosive to metals. Okay. Mga peroxide, mga ganyan, di ba? Bumubula-bula. Okay. Gases under pressure. Okay. And then meron yung pag nakakita kayo ng tao na merong pang sa heart is carcinogen, respiratory sensitizer, reproductive toxicity, target organ toxicity, mutagenic, or aspiration toxicity. And then, pag meron namang mga isda ay toxic to aquatic environment. Ito is yung parang exclamation point, acutely toxic, harmful, irritant to skin, eyes, or respiratory tract, skin sensitizer, or hazardous to ozone layer. Okay. Ano-ano yung mga ma-identify nyo na mga hazards sa environment or sa skin, no? Karamihan dyan yung acetone, even rugby can also be hazardous. Yung isa, yung yung pandikit, ano ba yon? What you call the pandikit?
Bulldog.
Ha?
Bulldog.
Rugby.
Ang tawag doon?
Toxic.
Very toxic yun eh. Ilang beses nang nasunog yung skin ko dun eh. Anong tawag doon? Yung bulldog. Anong tawag?
Mighty Band.
Mighty Band. Yung Mighty Band, yung original na Mighty Band, mas toxic dun sa Mighty Band na China. Pag pumunta kasi kayo sa ano ba yan? Ano yan?
Unilever.
Hindi. Sa may Unitap. Diba? Sa mga Unitap at saka sa mga mga fake man, ito hirang mga Mighty Band. Oh? Tapos yung iba, wala nang laman. Okay? So ano pa yung mga toxic na substances na you remember? Or yung naka-toxic sa inyo?
Hairspray.
Bulkasil.
Hairspray, Bulkasil. Ano ba? Meron yung isa, yung sa window. WD, ano ba yun? WD-40. Ano ba yun tawag doon? Very toxic din yun, grabe.
WD-40 po.
Yeah. That's correct, Dr. Bergamento. Grabe yun talaga, very toxic. Of course, yung yung fart, yung utot. Ano ba, toxic ba yan? Huh?
Yes.
Methane.
Flammable.
Lalo na pag kumain ka ng egg, di ba? Hilagang egg. Okay. So, yung peanut butter, meron din, no? You can be, it can also be toxic. Tapos, yung sa red tide, no? Yung red tide poisoning. What else? May nalaso na ba sa inyo nung bata kayo or recent or in the past or ano? Aside
Bitsin,
from...
Doc.
Ha?
Bitsin.
Pareho ikaw, ano ka ba sa Betchin, Dr. Artegue? Grabe ako, effect ko sa Betchin, sobra. What about who has allergy to medicine here? Allergy to medicine. Please raise your hand and share your allergy. Hypersensitivity reaction sa medicine.
Ibuprofen, Doc.
Sino yung nagsalita? Can you share? Ano nangyayari?